Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aiden,
And I'm Jack.
and we want to first off wish you a happy 2025. I hope you all had a wonderful series of holidays, whichever of those you chose to celebrate. Jack, how was your break?
It was really nice. Definitely good to see the family. Uh had fun, relaxing, get some time off work, some
Yeah.
good gifts, which is always great.
Oh, no, what was the best one?
Ooh, ski gear. Well, actually, I didn't get any ski gear actually, but I've gotten more into skiing the last few years and have always rented, and
Hmm.
that's just such a pain, but it's also such a upfront cost.
Yeah.
So my parents basically said, "Here is some money to go buy yourself ski gear," and I was
Nice.
like, "Sick, thanks, guys, I
Yeah,
appreciate it." So that helps with the upfront cost.
definitely. Yeah, it's an expensive hobby for sure.
It definitely is, but it's a fun hobby. How about
Yeah,
you?
oh yeah. I got a couple good ones. I think one of them that I like the most, I actually am using as a stand here for this for the laptop. Not really as a stand, but just putting it on top. This lovely binder that
Hmm.
Marianne got me with uh with all the sleeves and stuff to put the cards inside.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I got a good number of cards. I got a couple packs for Christmas, and then I got uh a bunch for myself. But
Hmm.
getting this book was or the binder was very helpful for organization and really um, gives a little extra juice to it.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, just wanted to share this wonderful card that I got in one of those Christmas packs, which of course was not a gift in and of itself, but we got one of those player worn Jeff Teat. Uh,
Mm.
Yeah, so it's a bit of his jersey. Unfortunately, it's from that first game of the year where they beat the Cannons 19-12. But um, you know, getting a little something from the MVP in the first game of his MVP season where he had what, 10 points, I think, was I weirdly got a lot of Atlas things in those cards. Like I got a signed Liam Entenmann and a Schellenberger jersey as well from that same game.
Mm.
Um, and our friend Scott from the Stampede got a similar proportionate amount of Cannons stuff. He got a Nolting jersey, a Nolting signature. So it's ironic, but we'll work on making that swap.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think he would appreciate it more.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. So we are not just back to talk about the holidays, though. Of course, it's always a good thing to do. We're back with an interview. Jack unfortunately could not join, but I was lucky enough to talk to former Cannons player and coach Bill Day. For any of you who did not have the privilege of seeing his time with the Cannons, Coach Daye was the starting goalie for the Cannons' first ever game in 2001, UMass Lowell. And I actually, in digging around a little bit, the Boston Cannons MLL YouTube page posted that game to their channel. So I will make sure that gets linked if you wanted to watch Coach Daye play. And as well, they posted the 2011 championship game, which is Coach Daye's other biggest accomplishment. He was the head coach of that 2011 championship team. So we've had now, what was it, two players and the coach from that legendary squad. Uh,
Mm.
and that was a fun one, a bit low scoring for the PLL maybe or for the pace that some people are used to. It was I think it was a 10-9 final, but
That sounds right.
yeah. They got the win, got the trophy, got the rings. Oh shoot, I'm just remembering now. I did not remember to ask him where he has his championship ring.
Mm.
We will have to have him on again for that reason, if nothing else. Uh, he's got a national championship too, so theoretically two rings. Um, all right. So I think without any further ado, then let's turn it over to Coach Day. And thank you to Bill Day, the an OG Cannon in a lot of ways, championship coach for coming on to the Battery Podcast. Coach, how are you doing?
Doing very well, Aiden. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. How was the we're recording this in early January. How were the holidays for you?
Holidays were very relaxing. Had my oldest home from college. She goes to University of Richmond. It's good to have her home for almost a month. And my youngest, she's a sophomore at Thayer. And then my wife, and then just small family. But it was very relaxing. Just took some time off for work and just chilled, to be honest with you.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really all you want. Does your daughter play lacrosse at Richmond?
She does not. Nope.
All right.
Yeah. No, and she stopped playing lacrosse in eighth grade actually and just never picked it back up. My youngest does play.
Good.
She's gonna play at Thayer, so but yeah,
It's like,
that's
all right, good. Yeah,
one
glad you could enjoy the time off. Certainly it's tough to come back. I had my first day back at work today, and it was I work at a college. So it was gentle. The students aren't
okay.
back yet. We just kind of hung out. Um,
Nice. How
all
are your
right.
holidays?
Oh, good. Yeah, my girlfriend is from San Diego, so I just got back from there
Nice.
yesterday. Um, so it was, it was a cold awakening coming back last night. But yeah, it was great. Her family is lovely. Um, got to do some touristy things, spend some time with them. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So for any of our listeners who do not have the privilege of watching either of your stints with the Cannons, could you just briefly summarize your two careers with them?
Yeah, that's funny. So I played for the Cannons the inaugural season of the MLL, um, 2002, 2001, 2002. That's where we played at Coley Stadium, starting, well, actually, split time with Mike Abelese in that first game against New Jersey Pride, because we were neck and neck coming out of training camp going into the season. And then after that game, I uh, won the starting position in the goal and played 2 years for the Cannons, and then second year got injured against the Rochester Rattlers. I remember it like it was yesterday, um, and had to quit playing due to a neck injury, which was, just something that is happened to me in college as well. So it was a second sort of stint with an injury around my neck, my C6 vertebrae, and so then in 2005, I came on staff with Scott Hiller when he was head coach. And the prior year, 2004, I was actually making a comeback to try out again with the Cannons, but then I blew my Achilles. So I think the writing was on the wall that my playing
Yeah,
days were over. So 2005, came on board with Coach Hiller as an assistant, ran the defense under him. And then when he stepped down in 2006, that's when I took over as a head coach and remained the head coach through 2011.
great. Which of course, 2011 being the Cannons won, or not one, first championship. Yeah, as we see for any of
There
our,
it is.
our viewers on YouTube. Yeah, we'll cover that championship in a lot of detail in a bit, I hope. But yeah, so thank you for that summary. To start kind of at the beginning of your professional career, what was it like getting recruited to play year one of the MLL? I imagine there was a lot of uncertainty about what that league was going to look like. So how did you wind up getting your spot on the Cannons?
Yeah, great question. And it's funny because there was a picture on Facebook and Instagram by Bob Carpenter. Bob's started Inside Lacrosse, and he's a historian of our game. He's doing some really good things. He's creating a film actually as well. But he tagged me, and I went back through a series of pictures. They had a training camp down in Florida at Disney for 3 days. They brought, I believe, 200 players down. Right around that number, I was selected to come down and pretty much go through a training camp, drills. We had scrimmages. They put us on different teams, mix and match different players. Um, Amazing talent, as you can imagine.
Mm,
3 days down there playing lacrosse, and that's how I sort of get seen. And then from there, we had a draft, um, which took place in January of 2001, and that was at the um, lacrosse convention. I believe it was in Baltimore that year. So had that draft, and I was one of the players selected on the Boston Cannon. So pretty cool experience going through that process, and then being selected by Boston, where I was living at the time with my wife. So it was nice to be home.
Yeah, absolutely. So was Boston your goal to be drafted from then, given that you were already in the area?
Yes, grew up in New York, but I have spent so much time up here, about 8 years at the time in Boston. So I call Boston my home.
Hmm. Great. Yeah, I mean, we certainly love to have you. What were those first 2 years of the MLL? Was that substantially different in terms of like a player routine, a coach routine, as opposed to your time, 10 years later coaching?
Yeah, I mean, like anything that's new, I think, we had Mitch Whiteley was our coach when I played for those 2 years. He was a great coach. He had, um, he didn't have much to work with in terms of, we played up in Cauley Stadium, which was up in Lowell. So it was a 45-minute to an hour drive up there. And we had training camp up there for a couple days. But, it wasn't like it is when I started coaching, just resources and more going into, each organization from a support and a resource perspective, right? So, that was definitely one of the I saw as the biggest sort of differences from player to coach. But the the staff at the time and everyone who was involved did everything they could to try to take care of us and treat us as much as they could, like professional lacrosse players.
Good. Yeah. And with that turnaround that you had from player to coach was a little shorter than I think I remembered reading. So 04 or 02 you finished, 04 you tried, and then 05 you're on the staff. Did you wind up coaching any of the players that you had played with as teammates? And if so, what was that like?
Oh man, yes, there were a couple guys. I mean, Ryan Curtis was still around, defenseman Dave Jenkins, Mike Batista, Dave Evans. Dave
Hmm.
Evans and I work together now with Massachusetts, and we always joke around about, he was on the team when I was the assistant, but then also when I became head coach the following year, he was one of our attackmen, and he actually we're coming out of BU because we played at BU, but that
Hmm.
in 2006, 2005, 2006, and his firstborn was actually born the day of a game. We were getting ready to come out onto the field at BU. We get the announcements and we run out through that little like makeshift tunnel there. And he came up to me, he's like, BD, Allie, his wife, went into labor. I gotta go, man. And he was literally he was in full uniform, Cannons jersey, shorts, cleats, and he just bolted, got his car keys, and they took off to the hospital. But
Amazing.
yeah, amazing. Just some of the memories that it brings back with some of the guys that I played with, and then coached for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's wow. I certainly would love to have him on to talk about that. I would imagine it'd probably be too difficult to track down some of the medical staff, but I don't know. Probably a guy in a full uniform, some athletic uniform, is probably not the craziest thing that any medical professional's ever seen, but it'll stand out in the day for sure.
No
Um,
doubt.
yeah. So you were a goalie in your playing days, not necessarily the most enjoyable position, just given the texture of a lacrosse ball and the difficulty in saving a lot of shots. So what brought you to that position on the field?
Wow. Well, it depends who you ask, first of all. I
Hmm.
mean, goalie's a great position.
Yeah.
I was a quarterback in football. I was a catcher in baseball, and I just that's it's one of the positions where you have some you have leadership responsibilities. You see everything going on in front of you. You're another coach on the field. You can lead the defense, and yeah, the ball hurts, but in a game, the ball doesn't really hurt. It's those practices where you take one off the leg and you're like, that stunk. But um, I actually started playing lacrosse late. I started in eighth grade. A good friend at the time who I used to play baseball with, you might know the name, Mark Millen.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, he, we were very good friends growing up. I would go over his house a lot, and he just we would have a catch, and he's like, just try. And I started liking it, and I started getting a little better. So, in ninth grade, we needed a goalie on our JV team at Harbor Hills High School. So I used to play, Mark and I and a bunch of, kids around the neighborhood used to all play roller hockey and street hockey as well. And I used to just pad up and just jump in the goal. And I just love flopping around, making saves. Obviously had a lot of pads on. Um, so I just thought I'd give it a shot. And I tell this story a lot to young goalies because, like as you indicated, the ball does hurt, and especially when you're young, it can deter you from wanting to play the position. So I had every single piece of equipment on you can imagine when I stepped in the goal in ninth grade. Shin guards, knee pads. I had cut off football pants with thigh pads in them, chest protector, arms, shoulder pads, gloves, helmet, everything. You name it. So I wasn't afraid of the ball, and I just, I would get hit, but I also started learning how to move to the ball. I felt I was a pretty good athlete, and I picked it up pretty quickly. So ninth grade is when I started playing goal, and through high school, I actually backed up a guy, a very good friend, Ray Sears, who went to UMass to play goal. So I played midi
Hmm.
sophomore, junior year while Ray was still there at Harbor Fields. And then when he graduated, I finally got the opportunity to start as a senior and also played man up. So,
Wow.
um, yeah,
Just
that's my
like Blaze
little
Reardon.
story. I know Blaze is quite an athlete. It's
Yeah.
fun to watch him play, especially indoor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. So you went to UNC based pretty much exclusively on your senior year performance.
Well, kind of. So, yes, but back then there was no such thing as club lacrosse. So what we had what was called the Empire State Games. The different regions of New York would send athletes up to certain areas. Like I think the years that I tried out, it was in Syracuse, my junior year, my sophomore year. I can't remember, but basically you would try out for the team Long Island. So
Okay.
imagine every junior, it was up to your junior year. So every sophomore and junior who was a pretty good lacrosse player on Long Island was at these tryouts. And
Wow.
that's where all the college coaches would come. They would come and watch these tryouts, and that was sort of their recruiting during the summer. So I tried out as a sophomore, um, in goal. I didn't make the team, but that's where I sort of got some visibility as a sophomore. And then my junior year, I actually made it as an alternate. So they took three goalies. I was the third. So that's how I got seen, and that's how I got recruited.
Great. Oh yeah, that's is that system still going?
It's a great question. I don't know if the Empire State Games are still going. I don't think so because
Yeah.
of
Club.
the world we live in today with club
Yeah.
lacrosse and everything. So
Well, fantastic opportunity because I imagine that just based off your senior year, like your offers are typically coming before then for the elite D1 programs.
yep. So I went on my visits January, February of my senior year.
Hmm.
Yep. And then committed to Carolina before the spring season started in high school.
Fantastic. I just wanted to skip, talking about your goalie playing careers to one of our listener submitted questions. So from OHG1315, what makes a good goalie great?
That's a great question. Obviously, when I train goalies, I like to work with athletes, but I think what makes a good goalie great, to answer the question, is mindset.
Mm,
You have a lot of good goalies out there, a lot of good goalies. You watch college lacrosse, you watch the PLL. The great ones, though, are the ones who are just able to maintain a certain level and never get too high, never get too low. Because it's a tough position. It
yeah.
can be mentally draining. You can get in your own head and start the, you know, I joke around. There were games where the ball was as big as a beach ball, and then for me, there were games where the ball was the size of a golf ball because you just start getting into your own head, and that can determine if you make a save or not. So I think, from my perspective, having a great mindset, just being able to be even keel, and like I said, not get too high, not get too low, but just stay right in that zone.
Fantastic. Yeah. Could you think of off the top of your head some of your best and worst performances, whether high school, college, pros?
Oh
Just
yeah.
what, like, yeah, I know you played a lot of games, I know, but
Yeah, no, no. I mean, you know, it just stays with you. So yes,
yeah.
I mean that's an easy question. Actually, my junior year, we played semis against Princeton, down at Franklin Field, in the Final Four. Hopkins played Syracuse the game before. They beat Hop, and there was some chirping as we were coming off the bus because we were favored to beat Princeton. We were the 1 seed, they were the 4, and we had beaten them early in the year and actually had a very good game early in the year. But for some reason, the first half, it was just one of those moments where it just didn't go well for me in the goal. I played a lot better in the second half, but we dug a little hole, and they went on a magical run. That's a year they won their first national championship, and ended up beating Syracuse. So they were a very good team. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely did not play to my ability. And then you look at I think, coming out of college and learning, going through moments like that. Then I got hurt my senior year when I fractured my C6 vertebrae. So I was having a very good senior year. I think we were at averaging under 6 goals a game.
Wow.
And then the ninth game of the season, I got hurt. But I learned a lot about myself when I, started playing in club, and then into the MLL, and just that mindset, sort of that mentality, it really hit home for me as I got older and got more mature. So I had some really good games when I played for the Cannons. One specifically, I remember playing Rochester Rattlers at home at night, and they had John Grant Jr. and
Hmm.
Timmy Sudan, and a lot of great players. And the ball was the size of a beach ball. I mean, I think it was a 9-8 final up in Cawley. We lost, unfortunately, but I think I had close to 24, 25, and it was just one of those nights where you're just seeing it and you're feeling good. Yeah,
Yeah. I hope you gave it to Mark Millen and Dave Evans after your that would be what, like 70% save, something like that. Uh
something. Yep, yep,
yeah, you held up your end of the bargain for sure in that one.
no doubt.
Yeah. Amazing. So, just to hit on 2011, because I think that was one of my core memories as a lacrosse fan, as a Cannons fan. Um, that was our other host, Jack. He's told that was the first season that he watched lacrosse or to watch
Hmm,
professional lacrosse. So, needless to say, he was a Cannons fan for life after that.
it's
Um,
awesome.
what was that? What are some of those core memories of that 2011 team, and specifically from that championship weekend?
Great group of men. First and foremost, when you look at the league, it's full of talent. So it's really truly which group can put it together, and just buy into what the coaching staff is preaching, and just make that commitment to each other. And we actually started it from training camp on. We just had a mantra that we focused on, and we utilized that throughout the season. And it just came up in different moments through the season. And again, we had an issue, I'll say, is like when we got to that last game of the season, we just didn't play our best. We had already clinched the playoff spot for the previous 2 years, and we just didn't go out and play well. And it kind of was like a hangover going into that first round of playoffs, I felt. Um, but this year we actually, we played the Bayhawks again. They were like our nemesis, and I believe it was the Bayhawks. But anyway, we were down, and we came out in the fourth and needed the ball, so we went to a 10-man ride, and Pat Dowling, who had just graduated from Delaware that year. Had him in the middle of the field. He bumped up, made a amazing over the head check, got the ball back, and we got it to our offense, and we end up scoring to tie the game, and then we went up to win it. So I felt like that was a really big hurdle for us. That last game in front of the Cannons faithful to come back and win in that fashion. We had already locked the number one seed, but still to win that game the way we did. I think that sort of propelled us into playing the Bayhawks down in Annapolis
Yeah.
in that rain storm, the hurricane we had, and allowed us to win a very close game again, where we had to win it at the end. It was
Yeah.
a back and forth game, and Max Quinzani got a pass from Ryan Boyle, picked it off the turf, and just stuck it between Chris Garrity's legs, and the rest was history. So
Yeah,
that
that
was
that shot, that
that
underhanded Max Quinzani falling down on the range shot, I think that is locked into my mind forever. Yeah, I'm such a diehard Boston sports fan to see in that amazing moment in a literal hurricane. Um, Definitely locked in, and the I don't know if it was the PLL or the MLL still, but the Cannons YouTube channel reposted those games in their entirety from that championship weekend.
really. Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
so
I have to check it
I've
out.
yeah, I finished the semifinal. I haven't I watched the first half of the championship. Um, but I mean 10-9 final in the championship as well. I know you guys I think had a maybe a better start in the first half, and Hamilton started creeping back a little, or Toronto, whatever they were at the time. Um,
Hamilton, I think. Yeah, I think they were Hamilton. Yeah, it was another great game. Obviously, just the talent pool in the league, but yeah, we had a really hot start. We're playing well, and then they started inverting. I forget the lefty attackman from Syracuse, and
Joe Walter?
had
No, he went to Maryland.
no, it was,
Cody
uh,
Jamison.
yes, yes, and they got a couple of goals off of that, but we still had a lead, and then Kevin Buchanan made a great play. We started utilizing him more on the attack with Boyle, and then we subbed out Pasque, and we had Buchanan coming off the left side, and he beat his man underneath, scored the big goal, and then yeah, then we had the ball with time left, timeout they called, and we knew they were going to double the ball. We practiced a play the day before, and we just happened to be put in that position again. And Paul carried the ball. He got tripped, but they didn't call it, and then the time ran out. That was it.
Yeah, and amazing. Again, that some of those images from the ceremony too. Like you have that one behind you of yourself lifting the trophy, and I've seen the one of Paul Rabel, and then the big team shot as well. Um, yeah, huge core memories for me as a lacrosse fan. I lived in Virginia a year. That was the first year that we moved back. So to get to celebrate and kind of reground myself in Boston, with that and with the Bruins winning the championship like 2 months before the Stanley Cup, was a huge, like, yeah, huge moments for our family. Um, that we're very grateful for you and the rest of the roster for providing that for us. Um,
Thank you. It's
yeah,
great to hear from passionate fans. That was one of the best things about playing for Boston and playing Harvard, and just our fan base was truly one of the best, if not the best
yeah,
in the league. Game in, game out, whether it was at the beginning of the season, June, or at the end of the season, August, they always packed the house, and it definitely made a difference.
yeah. Were you able to get to either the PLL events at Harvard or Gillette this past year? Past year?
Not at Harvard, unfortunately, but I did go to Gillette. Yep, we had a reunion. The PLL put together
Yeah,
a Cannons reunion, so we probably had about 30 or so with families there. It was nice. It was good to see some guys I haven't seen in a long time and catch up. So it was nicely done.
yeah. Um, What was it like to coach some of the all-time greats? You know, you mentioned Boyle and Rabel. You also had Kyle Sweeney on that team. I think I could count Matt Poskett, Kevin Buchanan in there as well. But really, everyone like Mitch Belisle was another like huge talent, legendary performer. What is it? Did you realize in the moment just like how good all those players are, some like all-time good, or is it kind of just in hindsight seeing their careers in totality?
Yeah, it's yeah, the list goes on and on. Johnny Christmas, I mean,
Oh yeah.
Batisca, all this. I mean, yeah, having played with them or played against them, obviously, you know what type of lacrosse talent they have. But I think the biggest, probably when I feel like took the biggest step as a coach was the year of 2011 when I started incorporating them more into not necessarily decisions, but get feedback and because at the end of the day, they're extremely talented players. Um, they're they're seeing everything live in the moment, stuff that we are unable to see from the sidelines, and just getting feedback and getting when we came in the huddles and stuff like that, and that's where I feel like from a coaching perspective, I took a big step, and just relying on Boyle, and from an offensive perspective, what was Pasquet seeing off ball? What was Sweeney and Mitch seeing from different offenses and different set? What were they doing off ball and stuff like that? And um, so yeah, I definitely knew what we had, and I think from a coach, especially in that league, it's like how do you utilize not just their talent and their skill sets playing, but their coaching skill sets, right? And how do you incorporate all of that to try to put together a winning squad?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta think Brian Boyle was essentially a coach on the field, especially being at
Yes.
X, kind of seeing the whole offense.
Such
Um,
an analytical guy and just a bright guy. There's
yeah,
no
and it's
doubt.
great to see him doing commentary now and kind of breaking the offenses and defenses down the same way that he did for all those years. At he was on those Princeton teams that you had just referred to playing against, right?
He was not. So I graduated in 93.
Mhm.
So Scott Bashkalupo was in goal back then. Justin Tortolani was an attackman. Andy Moe was a midfielder. Boyle, I think, was later. Not sure how much later,
Yeah.
98 maybe.
I know I've definitely seen, well, maybe I'm just thinking of him winning the championship with the Cannons, but I think I've seen him. Let's see. Uh, Princeton 01 to 04 is when he
Oh,
played, so he's a
104.
little younger than I thought. And
Yeah.
wow, his Wikipedia article has a terrible picture of him. Someone should go on and fix that too. One of his many career highlights. All right, yeah. So he was a little younger than I thought. Um, so I think 2011 you said was your last year as coach of the Cannons. Is that right?
Yes.
So what brought you away from coaching? How did you know or think or feel it was time to walk away?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a hard decision, especially coming off of winning the championship and everyone in the locker room, coaching staff, the front office is like, let's run it back.
Yeah.
For me, it was a few things. One, family. My kids, my girls were still pretty young, and I hadn't really had a summer, with them in over 6 years.
Mm.
When I first started, um, it was just me and my wife Allison, and then all of a sudden we had children, and so that was part of the reason, right? Because it was time away from them, and then I also had a job opportunity come up that would require me to just be a little bit more around from a travel perspective as well during the summers, working for Nike. So I started uh, September 14th working for Nike in 2011. So those two really were the big reasons why I decided to take a step back and you know step away from the game. But yeah, it wasn't easy, but
No.
at the time it was the right decision for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, have you what kind of did you have any kind of relationship or involvement with the Kens in the MLL after that or and then what if any relationship have you had with the PLL since its launch?
Yeah, for a few years, I kept in touch with front office staff, and for a couple of years, Steve Duffy was the head coach, who was on staff with me. Great guy. Still, still talk to him today. And then once they started moving, I think John Tuck came in after that. Then I just sort of, I still went to games and still, um, you know, with ownership and caught up with Matt and all and everyone. But then I just sort of, you know, faded away a little bit. And but now the PLL, I keep in touch, when I'm still on a list, and
Hmm.
when opportunities open up, I get a look, and they want to see if I want to get back in, and if so, then I go through the interview process. But I've with what I'm doing now at Thayer, I just feel like I don't want to take my focus and my commitment from the young men I'm coaching there. And even though it's a different season, I just want to be all in, 100% into what I'm doing at Thayer, which is is a lot.
Yeah. So we're not going to see Bill Day as head coach of the Carolina Chaos in 2025.
Unfortunately, no. That was honestly, I going down to Carolina, especially after Coach Belichick is
Mm.
going
Oh yeah.
going to Chapel Hill. I was tempted to throw my name in and go through the process, but again, it's just a lot. In the in the summer, where it's just those summer months.
Yeah.
Family time is super important for me, and I didn't want to give it up yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand, especially while one of the daughters is still at home. Um,
Exactly.
have you had any interaction with Coach Belichick? I know he just started at UNC, but we all know he's a big lacrosse guy.
He's a big lacrosse guy. I wouldn't say I'm close friends with Coach Belichick, but we keep in touch. We text every once in a while. I was
Wow.
fortunate enough to meet him when I worked for Nike. We delivered a Johns Hopkins Nike jersey to him on the sideline. I delivered it to him when Coach Petro Dave was the coach
Hmm.
for Hop, and they were pretty tight. So it was the Maryland Hopkins game, so that's where I got to meet him, and ever since then we've stayed in touch. And yeah, I sent him a text. Well, when it was starting to like come up on social media, I was like, is this real? Is this true?
Yeah.
And then once it was announced, I sent him a text, and he got back to me like last week. He was very thankful and apologized for being out of touch, which I found was funny. I'm like, you're a busy man, coach. There's
Yeah.
no need to apologize to me. But super excited that he's in Carolina Blue. Super excited for what he can bring to the University of North Carolina. Obviously, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, coach in the NFL. But just his mind. Just listening to him, he's been on the Pat McAfee show.
Hmm.
Listening to him and just break down the game, it's amazing. I actually learned something new every time he talks. Just I made some notes about something he said and how I want to apply it this year there. But yeah, I'm excited for the level of athletes that student athletes he's going to bring through Chapel Hill, and hopefully we'll be playing in the CFP playoff soon.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be quite something if you manage to turn around UNC the same way you did the Patriots. I think us in New England we're pretty much all rooting for that. Or hopefully at least plays up at Harvard or BC. Um,
Yeah, that'll
I
be
think
fun.
so we can hope that the school the Eagles will try to schedule that because I think that would generate a lot of interest up here.
Well, they actually played up. Carolina played up
Yeah,
at
at
BC
Fenway.
this year.
Yeah, which they lost to UConn. Am I remembering that
Yeah,
right?
so they lost to UConn in the Fenway Bowl, but they actually played at BC
Oh,
back in
okay.
November over I think it was Thanksgiving
That's right.
weekend.
Yeah, they're both in the ACC, so
Yeah.
he'll definitely be up here.
Yep.
All right. Well, those tickets are going to be pricey. It's all good though. All right. So I want to give the Denver Rough Riders a shout out. They wrote it to our poll. Do you have any like broad thoughts on the future of the PLL, like how you've seen it evolve and kind of take over, replace the MLL in a way? Like you view as professional, basically, what are your thoughts on the development of professional lacrosse?
I think everything they've done from shortening the field and just the rule changes to sort of make the game a little different, a little bit faster, a little bit more exciting, right? That's what we want.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's been great for the game. I really do. I went to this past year at Gillette, and then the previous year at Gillette when they played when they hosted the playoffs is unfortunately the only time I've seen it live. Coaching club lacrosse during the summer and then just
Mm.
spending time with family. So, but it's an amazing product. I mean, the speed of the game at field level,
Yeah.
it's truly, and if you've, I'm sure you've been on the sideline for, watching the Patriots play up close or watching the Celtics play up close or even the Bruins skate. It's just the speed is tremendously different than any other college level or high school. And it's the same thing with the PLL. So when you have the best athletes who are in the peak of their careers, playing at that level, it's truly a great product. And I think everything they're doing from just promoting how the players are incorporated in the league. Uh, I think the game is just it's going in the right direction for us for sure. And
Yeah.
hopefully they can get to the point where I think every lacrosse fan wants them to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got another question from OHG 1315 is what are some players or a team I don't know that you wish who's playing right now that you wish you could coach or maybe like oh I wish that guy was on the 2010 2011 whatever team.
Wow. It's a hard question to answer,
Yeah.
but I am a defensive minded coach, right? So I think, when you look at like Blaze Reardon, just, like I always pride myself in obviously, being a former goalie, forming a very strong bond with the goalies, right? I used to warm them up. I used to have conversations with them, talk through some challenges, and just being able to coach him and watch him perform would be pretty amazing. And even, you know, some of their guys who play in front of them, like Will Bowen and Jack, we got
Well,
space. Yes, Rowlett, another Tar Heel. Sorry,
yep.
Jack. But just having those guys and just running that defense would be pretty cool, you
Yeah. Oh,
know.
absolutely.
And then just hometown boys too. Just watching them play and it yeah, it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. We got one more question from that loyal listener. As an MLL champion coach, now coaching at high school at Thayer Academy, what do you do? What lessons do you teach to help your players get to the next level?
Well, it's first and foremost, I think at any level you're coaching at, it's all about the culture you bring into the program, and that's what I really focused on in that first season in 23, where we came in late, me and the staff. Um, it's I truly believe it's all about the culture, but from how I help my players, I think one thing I brought to is how we talked about involving some of the greatest players in the game and some of the conversation about what's happening on the field. It's the same thing. I'm very fortunate to coach some very skilled players at there, and you know, some of them have great lacrosse minds as well. So getting input, having them buy, because that helps with buy-in to what we're trying to do as a program, and ultimately as the culture we're building there. And I think that goes a long way with what we do. And then obviously, I care about my guys on the lacrosse field, but I care more about them off the lacrosse field. I'm involved in their lives and want to do well in school academically, and I want to help them get to wherever that next path is for them. Some it's playing at D1 level, some it's D2, some D3, some playing in the MCLA, which has a very good competitive club uh, um, lacrosse. So it's just trying to be involved with them and help them get to wherever they want to be in life. And hopefully I can provide some life lessons along the way.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So I wanted to ask as well about your experience growing up and all through um, your playing career. I know there were not a lot of people of color when you started playing lacrosse. It's increasing now, but I just wanted to ask about what that experience was like being a a black player in a very predominantly white sport, and if that's changed, that perception or that experience has changed in that 20, 30 years since you started.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I talk about it a lot, right? It's very few black lacrosse players when I was playing, really. I had a few I looked up to, but there weren't that many. And obviously, I've been called names playing. It's just something you had to deal with. But I felt like the players that came before me and players around my time and even players after us were the ones who forged the way for players today. And I definitely have seen more black lacrosse players, male and female, playing this game that we all love. It's a great game, and it had a stereotypical view, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. But I think that's changed. It still has a ways to go. You still hear a story about this was said in this part of the country or this was said there, and it's unfortunate. But at the same time, it's just it's great seeing more young athletes of color playing this sport because it's truly a great sport, and thankful to people who are playing at the highest level right now who have a voice and who are doing a great job, using that voice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the league does a great job of promoting, you know, equality and diversity in and of itself, and then also just promoting the black players it has who are star players. Trevor Baptiste, obviously, Miles Jones, and so many more, and Nat St. Laurent as well, coaching.
Yep.
Um, yeah, fantastic. All right. I think I've just got a couple more things for you.
Okay.
One of them from my brother. He's looking to get started with coaching. He coached a middle school team last year. Is trying to get involved in high school this year. And he's trying to focus really on the goalies because his thought process is most teams just kind of throw someone in net and don't necessarily. He's in Maine as well for context, so the
Okay.
scene is a little bit smaller. So, what advice do you have for someone getting into coaching, and specifically coaching goalies, who doesn't know that much about it?
Network, reach out to people. Um, there are so many resources. I mean, just I still do it with my staff, and you can never learn too much. I'm very fortunate. I have friends in the game. Jerry Byrne over at Harvard, Casey Donalfo at Tufts. I'll reach out to Mike Daly. Um, Scott Marr. I mean, Joe Bresci, Dave Petrovalo. I'm just throwing names out, but it's the truth. Like I'm constantly reaching out, asking a point of view on something just so I can get better, right? And that's the same thing. Like, um, call up Sean Quirk. He runs peak performance goalie camp. I'm sure he would love to have your brother come work and just learn, listen, and that's a great way. I was going to learn from different goalie coaches who go to this camp, and he can learn some little ins and outs about playing the position, but more importantly, how to coach it. So I think just networking and that's the one thing about this sport and the culture of this sport. Everyone wants to help.
Yeah.
And just by, making contact, have them reach out to me,
All
and
right.
bounce some questions off of me. I'm more than happy to help.
Fantastic. Yeah, I will. I'll definitely be giving him your email once we're done. Um, all right. I think that was the last question that I have. So, again, thank you very much for your time. Was there anything that you would like to plug or promote while we have you on here?
No, I mean, just thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's always great to reminisce about the good old days with the Boston Cannons because it was a big part of my life, no doubt about it. Starting, back when the MLL started. So more than happy to jump on and talk shop about that. So appreciate that. Definitely send me those links to those Cannons games. I would love to
Oh yeah.
check those out, please. That'll be amazing. And yeah, stay in touch.
All right, thank you. When is Thayer's first game of the year?
Don't I think first game, so we go down to Florida 16th. We play IMG on the 18th.
Okay.
Come home. I think we have the BC High on the 22nd. But the schedule is on Thayer.org.
All right.
It's a great, the ISL is such a competitive league. It truly blows me away how competitive and how great the lacrosse is.
Hmm.
And last year we had 10 teams who could have made the top eight, and that's how close it was. So it's just getting even more competitive, and definitely check out a game if you can. But the schedule's on Thea.org, and it's going to be a great season. Super
Yeah.
excited.
Do you know, are you playing St. John's Prep this year?
We're not, no, unfortunately, last year we scrimmaged. We had a four-way scrimmage between Belmont Hill, BC High, St. John's Preps, and Thayer. Unfortunately, they're not able to do it this year over at Belmont Hill, and no one else was able to do that. I may try to get St. John's Prep on the schedule as a scrimmage
Hmm.
because they are super talented. Like I was super impressed with what Coach does over there last year when we played him. It was a good run. So, but we don't have him on
Okay.
it right
The reason I asked, that's where I went to high school. So
now. Okay.
would have been fun. Would have been a big conflict of interest for me. But if it's a scrimmage, the result is not official. That would have been probably the ideal. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Coach. We'll hope to either have you on again or get you out to some kind of PLL event, one of our watch parties or something. Hopefully, homecoming works out for you this year. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. But good luck with the Thayer season. Yeah. Glad you had a good holiday. Thank you very much.
All right, Aiden. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
And thanks to Bill Day for hopping on. Sorry to have missed the conversation, but and I'm sure it was great chatting up with him. I know that I think I've talked about it before on the podcast that 2011 was the first year that I started playing
Mhm.
lacrosse, and that was the year I became a Cannons fan. So definitely a great time to become a Cannons fan, and because of that, it was pretty cool that we had the opportunity to have him on
Yeah.
podcast here, just given that core childhood memory of that 2011 squad.
Yeah, and as I talked about during the conversation, it was a pretty core memory for me too, having moved back to Massachusetts after a year away, with the Bruins and the Cannons winning championships that summer. It really, um, yeah, it meant a lot to me to come back to be, um, in my home, my hometown, my home state, and to celebrate that that joy, Boston. I don't think the Cannons had a parade. I did go to the Bruins one, which was very very cool for me as a teenager. But yeah, this that championship meant a lot. I know Boston had some tough losses, um, and it was yeah a formative experience for us both. Um, and with having him on now too, and especially with having Jordan Burke and Chris Eck, it's been really cool to kind of connect these eras of cannons where I feel like especially with Jordan, like other things in life have come up, and that his professional lacrosse days are behind him, and I think he's coaching his kids and some and stuff like that, but to like be playing and competing and involved in that level is not as much part of his life anymore. So to connect across the eras and just really like embrace and enjoy the history that the Cannons have has been really special that we've been doing for the past year or so on this podcast. And the longer we continue to do it, the more different eras we can oversee. Like, uh, yeah, well, hopefully we'll have maybe Coach Quirk on one of these days, and whoever the coach is on after Brian Holman. Though I don't want to think about that era being over quite yet.
Definitely not.
Yeah, like the Cannons have a uniquely long and proud history in lacrosse, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's really special to talk to so many people from all over that history.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, All right. I don't think we need to labor on too much longer. But yeah, very grateful to Coach Day. We'll be back again in a couple weeks with another uh, very exciting interview that I don't know. Should we tease it? Just
Uh,
tease it, or should we just go out and say it?
let's tease it. Just
All
tease
right.
it. Or just tease it.
All right. Yeah.
Give it a
So
good
we'll
tease.
a very very important figure in the Premier Lacrosse League and the lacrosse landscape in general. Um, so we're very excited to talk to him, and of course we'll post that on our story when the time comes, so you all can write in. Because I'm sure you'll have a lot of things you want to ask this individual. I really cannot wait for that, Jack. I know you're excited too. All right. So for any of you
Screw
who,
it. Name drop it.
all right, yeah. So we'll be on Mike Rabel in a couple weeks. Uh, yeah. So cannot wait for that. We did have the privilege of speaking to him in a bigger group once before, but just having him on, just the two of us, will be really cool. So we can't wait. And if listening to this inspires you, there's something you want to ask right away, DM us. We're collecting questions already, just to make sure
Mhm.
we're well prepared. Um, yeah, we're really excited for that, as we are for all of our guests. So we kind of did a throwback to the past of lacrosse, of Canada's lacrosse with Bill Day, and then we're looking forward to the future with Mike. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, cannot wait. And hopefully, hopefully we get out to a Thayer game to see Bill in person. Hopefully
Yeah.
Jordan can actually come to the Brown Harvard game. I know that's been announced April 26th. Um,
Mhm.
I'm certainly gonna. I think good chance I'll be there, but sometimes life happens. And we hope
Right.
to see you there as well. And we'll be going to, I think, a lot more of college lacrosse games around Boston. Try to drum up some pride in the sport in this area, some interest. And once we finalize those dates and those games, we'll let you all know. So thank you again to Coach Day. Thank you for listening. And until next time with Mike Rabel, go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Boom!
Boom.